Hi, and welcome back to Serie A podcast for the fans. And this week we're going to do a little bit of a review on teams, just an update on our opinion on how they're going. And I'm here as always with my co-host from Inter Worldwide, Bruno. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Vince. I'm good, Vince. It's been a long international break, to be honest. I start to miss football a bit, and there's one more game left, and then we're back into the Serie A. But yeah, we're going to cover the rounds, match days 1 to 7. We didn't do a podcast for match day 7 because we knew we were going to be doing this. So we'll just go work our way down the table, just evaluate how each team's going, and the expectation. Did we think they were going to be there? Are they overachieving, underachieving? Is the manager out the door? So first cab off the rank, and it's terrible to say this, being a massive Inter fan, but in first place after 7 fixtures, they've had 5 wins, 2 draws, and that is AC Milan. They are on 17 points, clear first place. I'll let you talk about this one because I don't want to give nice positive comments to them.
Yeah, they were my pick to win the title this year, and I'm sticking with it. I'm really impressed that they have continued exactly from where they left off last year. There's no pressure on anybody there. It doesn't seem like it. It just seems like they keep on rolling and rolling, and it seems like when they get a poor result, it's against a quality team. So, I mean, they did cop a 3-0 loss in Europe, but it was against a better team. And I guess they were, mentally probably just thought they were going to win it because they've been winning all the time. But they still bounced back and they got a draw against, I think it was Verona, wasn't it, in the league. And it's still a very credible draw. There's Zlatan with with the missed penalties, but the late goals. But overall, the balance of their team is very impressive with the depth that they have. They obviously scored a lot of goals without Rebic. He's back. Tonali is getting blooded slowly in Europe, so it's almost like they're just waiting for an injury, and then they'll just pop him back in there. And yeah, the defense is super strong. The goalkeeper's probably the best goalkeeper in the world. Well, Serie A, the most exciting talent that we're seeing, and I don't know, I can see them going all the way.
Oh, look, their first 3 games were against Bologna, Crotone, and Spezia, and those are the sort of teams you got to wrap up and you got to get the wins. And they went through that with 7 goals scored and 0 conceded. Their first goal was conceded was against Inter in the derby, which they did triumph 2-1. And then they had the 3-3 draw with Roma, which was terrible refereeing, as well as the draw with Verona as well, which you got to give credit where credit's due. Verona are performing, and we will be getting to them. But I just think, yeah, they look pretty solid. Their defense is pretty solid. And it is a bit of a worry, but I do feel Ibrahimovic has been the man that he talks himself up to be. And that Ibrahimovic is a dangerous Ibrahimovic, but the guy is getting old. You got to say that. And the question is, the last year and a half or so, he has had some severe injuries. I don't know. Will they go all the way if something does happen to them? Will they go all the way if the Europa League, they start to take a really good shape in that? Because I don't feel they've got the depth to be actively competitive at full strength into different competitions like other teams do. And you got to remember they were they did make I think they lost to, did they beat Juventus in the Coppa semi-final last year? I think they.
They drew. They drew 1-1 in the San Siro, and it was 0 in Turin. So they didn't. They drew both semi-finals.
Like they did well. They did well post-COVID, and I think the instability with the management, because Pioli was just a stand-in manager until the start of this season, but he did so well that they ended up signing him permanently, which did ruffle a few feathers. But look, overall, it is impressive, and that's coming from an Inter fan. You got to give credit where credit's due, and yeah, they're definitely there. But moving on, another undefeated team with 4 wins and 3 draws is the surprise package in Sassuolo, and I'll run through this one on my end quickly. Sassuolo have been one of those teams that they've always started quite well. I feel the start of the season, they really put themselves in a position that by match day 10, they really can't get relegated, and then they sort of drop off. But they've started extremely well this season, and it's very interesting to see them up there. It could be a different story in a couple of weeks' time, but at the moment they're impressive. What's your opinion on them?
Yeah, I think right now, if you take away the green and you add the blue, you'd almost call them Atalanta, because they're doing something very similar where they're playing an attacking brand, and and they really don't care who they're playing. The longevity of it's going to be interesting to see how long they can keep it up, particularly now that we're starting now, like we have Champions League for the next 3 weeks, and then every team has to play pretty much 3 times a week. And I think that's when we're going to see a lot of these teams fall away with the consistency in games, just being too much. But they are so entertaining to watch. They have got good results against good teams. It's not like they haven't played anyone good, because they have. And, I think there was a stage there where it was 3 games in a row, they scored 4 goals in every game. So, yeah, I think the wheels will fall off. I really do. I think the wheels will fall off, and they won't fall off completely, but they might have that period where they drop off, and then a little bit of inconsistency. And I'd say definitely top half of the table, but they're exciting to watch now, and I guess we better watch them now while they are exciting. But
yeah, definitely. And one of the teams they did beat is currently in 3rd spot. It's Napoli, who have had 5 wins, 1 loss, and a did not play forfeit match. So it's 2 losses. They should actually be on the same amount of points as the Sassuolo, but they were docked at 1 point. What do you think? Is that 1 point going to be costly in the larger scheme of things? Because we've seen traditionally in Italy, Champions League is normally defined, if not by 1 point, goal difference. And you, as a Lazio fan, we'll go back a couple of years where Inter went through on goal difference.
Let's not get back.
1 point going to be critical.
Napoli, for me, everyone was putting them up in the top 4 at the start of the year, and I'm a little bit skeptical of Gattuso. I think he's a brilliant coach, but I think he's very defensive. And I think that Napoli haven't really been tested this year. And when they have played, their defense has been very, very shaky. They haven't actually conceded that many goals, because they did cop the free against Juventus on their tally. But other than that, they actually haven't conceded that many goals, but they have made crucial mistakes at bad times in matches. And to me personally, I haven't seen enough from Napoli. I was hoping this week against AC Milan will be a showdown, and we'll be able to see what they're capable of. But all of a sudden, they've got their star striker is I think he's dislocated his shoulder. So they're talking weeks to months. So he's out. A defender's out with COVID, and the Bacchiara, is it, in the midfield? The guy from he was at Milan. He's got a virus. He's got a virus as well. So they're missing a defender, midfielder, and their star striker, who I'd say hasn't, set the world on fire. I don't think personally, I don't think Napoli's going to finish in the top four.
Yeah, look, I think for the competition and the teams they've faced, they have done what's normally expected of a top half table. We would have seen them tested against Juventus, but they decided not to travel, and that's why they'll dock that point. But yeah, look, they're putting away the bottom teams, and that's who they've really played at the moment, other than Sassuolo, which they lost 2-0 to. So that, we're only 7 games in, 21 points on offer, and they've gotten 14 of them. But you're saying, they're going to need something special. And if Insigne is the player that everyone thinks he is, he's really got to step up and lead this Napoli to something. But yeah, I could see them qualifying for Europa, but I can't see Champions League football, especially with the quality that's underneath them. The quality of team which is underneath them, and the team that they equal on 14 points with, who have also been docked points this season, awarded a 3-0 loss to Hellas Verona in match day 1 because they fielded an ineligible player, is Roma, who have had 4 wins, 2 draws, and that unfortunate loss. Without Zaniolo, my opinion, they're going to be up there. As much as it hurts, a lot of people to hear, they're going to be up there, and they've just shown how good they are. They drew with AC Milan in 3-3. Did they draw with Juventus? I believe they did.
2-2 draw, but they did. Juventus did have a player sent off, and then they caught Roma.
Yeah, but still, their 2 draws have come against the current leaders of the table and the former champions. So they're quite impressive, and that is without their superstar Zaniolo. So, what do you think?
I'm actually really impressed with them. They're going to go for a little bit of a hard time, I think, right now, because I'm not sure that Dzeko's over COVID. Kumbula's out hurt as well. I'm not sure for how long. They do have a few other players that are out. Their injury list looks like, I think it was about 9 or 10 players that were out hurt. So they do, like a lot of other clubs, have a big injury toll right now. The best thing about Roma is their coach. The ability for him to change formation depending on who they're playing and the players that they have, I think is the real reason that Roma are where they are and are playing the way that they are. But I do think that we have this extended run. I don't think they have the depth. Without Dzeko, they do struggle up front. So
there's still 31 games to go, but we are basing it off the first 7. And from what we've both seen, I think if this continues, which rarely it does for, it rarely continues for 5 games, let alone 30-odd games. But if this continues, they are going to be pretty much up there. But let's not dwell on the Roma. In 5th place, equal 5th place, is last year's champions, Juventus. They've had 3 wins and 4 draws. They've scored 15 and they've conceded 6. But I don't know. I feel like they're starting to. I feel like the wheels started slow. They're slowly gaining momentum, but they're coming down this hill. And the only thing that's going to happen with Juventus is those wheels are going to pick up pace, and they're going to go really, really well, especially with Pirlo. And they've had Ronaldo missing, and up until recently, but at the same time, questionable on how they're playing Dybala. But over to you, Vince.
Yeah, I actually feel very sorry for Juventus. 9 titles in a row, but this particular season, that they've had De Ligt virtually out the whole year. Cellini's barely played a game. And it just seems like when one comes in, another one goes out at the back. And so they haven't had, just at the back, they haven't had a full strength team. And up the front's virtually been the same thing. Dybala missed a lot of time in preseason and that with COVID. I'm hearing that he's training even on his days off in this international break. So he's really trying to push himself. Ronaldo's missed so much time. I think that he's getting good performances out of Rabiot, who was terrible, sort of, I guess, under Sarri. So that's really good. And R4 is impressive as well. Like not greatly impressive, but the maturity is showing. And like you said, the wheels are going. You actually can clearly see what they're trying to do when they play. The passing the ball in front of players, the speed of play, the creativity out of the midfield. Everyone talks about Sarri ball, but we never seen it last year. But I think that we're seeing Villa ball. I really, and I think that Juventus, they've given everyone a little bit of a head start. And if teams don't take advantage of it, then they're going to come home, and they're going to come home hard.
Definitely. And Pirlo, first team he's ever managed, I think he's doing phenomenal, especially with some of the people in that team. But from one Champions League team to another in seventh spot, on the same points as Juventus, is Atalanta. But I feel with this team here, the wheels are starting to fall off from last season. Their wins haven't been convincing. They're getting the job done, but their wins haven't been convincing. But I feel like they're taking the Champions League a lot more seriously than what they did last year, because they realised how far they got. They're on 4 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses. They're not the goal-scoring machines we saw last year, but I feel there's been a lot of goals this year, so we can't really compare the 2 seasons. But yeah, how do you think they're dealing with the fixture congestion? Is it starting to catch up with them?
I'd almost rather not even talk about them. They're so hard to, you go into a game, you think, oh yeah, they're going to win this one by 7, and they end up getting belted by Sampdoria, and then then they come out and then they lose the following week again. They're very hard. They've been impressive in Champions League up until the last game. Impressive. They gave away a 2-goal lead, and then they clawed back against Ajax, and then they got smashed by Liverpool. But yeah, I just don't know. I really don't know. They obviously they have their defensive problems, and they haven't fixed them, and people know them a little bit more. So I guess they're attacking them. They're a very hard team to actually predict how they're going, because if they get in their groove, then I think that they're virtually going to be unstoppable. But I'd say they're probably under the pump a little bit mentally, just because they overperformed last year in the Champions League. And I'm going to put it down to Champions League. And once Champions League's over in 3 weeks, I think we're going to see if they're going to be contenders or pretenders.
Yeah, definitely. But from the second Champions League team to the third Champions League team, Inter Milan, who have only lost the 1 game for 3 wins, 3 draws, and 1 loss. They're sitting in 12 points. I'm probably going to take the reins on this. They are a team which, at the start of the season, gave up the likes of having pen to paper for Tonali, having pen to paper for Kumbula, and signing the likes of Arturo Vidal and Pinamonti from Genoa, because they wanted to win now. And I just feel they started the campaign against Fiorentina, Benevento. Then they had that scrappy match against Lazio, which they absolutely should not have won. They lost to AC Milan. It was a hard-fought derby. Both teams had their chances, and Milan just took the better ones. But even in Champions League, draw with Mönchengladbach, draw with Schalke. They lost 3-2 to Real Madrid after being down 2-0 and coming back to 2-2. and they just drew with Atalanta, but it was a fantastic draw. And I feel like I feel like the Real Madrid game might have given them a bit of confidence. They're like, well, we clawed back. We still lost, but we clawed back. I think it's cutthroat time for Conte. Something's got to happen. He's either got to prioritize the Serie A and go, all right, don't worry about the Champions League. We're going to smash this Serie A out, and he needs result after result after result. Or he's got to do some wonders in the Champions League in a very tight group at the moment. But in saying that, I do look at the Inter squad, and I just feel Conte still doesn't know what he's doing. He still doesn't know who he's playing. He still doesn't know who he's starting. Yeah, we got very unlucky in the sense of there's been, I think now we're at 8 COVID cases in the team so far, with Kolarov most recently contracting. Kolarov and Brozovic, and Perisic has now been put into isolation because he's playing in the national team with Brozovic. But at the same time, I just feel, yeah, that's one thing. But at the same time, he's also got a lot of players, and I feel like he's struggling to find his starting 11 because he's got so many players. We're talking about depth for AC Milan and all these other teams. Inter have depth. Inter have a lot of depth. But I'll hand it to you for your 2 cents.
Yeah, they've been dreadful. I reckon that they've been dreadful. Inter. For me, I think they have anyway. They haven't found a rhythm. They haven't found a starting lineup. They haven't found a midfield. They got Gagliardini, Vidal, and Barella sort of their players. If they swap out Eriksen with Gagliardini, like, I don't know, the balance works with Eriksen, but to me that's the whole link. Eriksen's not doing anything. So without that creative midfielder, I think it hinders them big time. But the problem with Inter has been this year hasn't been really their attack, has been actually their defense. And last year they had the best defense, and it's been a disaster. Even at full strength, they've rotated and rotated and rotated, and there's no consistency. I think tactically, Conte's got it wrong a lot of the times. And I've said before that their biggest problem, I think, is there's no backup to Lukaku. There's no option there. But I think, like you said, they need a little bit of a momentum push, like most teams. And I think if they do get it, and it has to come right now. It has to come right now. Otherwise, they're out of Champions League, and the pressure is going to be on Conte. And this next 3 weeks is going to decide whether Inter are going to remain in Champions League or Conte is going to be gone, I think.
Yeah, look, we'll see. It's going to be a long Christmas period with game after game after game. But in 8th spot, we've got currently on 3 wins, 3 draws, and a loss, Hellas Verona. Surprise package, overachieving. I don't know. I feel like they're doing what they normally do. Last year they finished around 8th spot. They're currently sitting in 8th spot. I feel like they're playing to their strengths. They had the draw against Juventus, the draw against the AC Milan. I feel that they're doing well, but they're that team that's going to cause teams troubles. But they're also that team that's going to drop points to the lower ranked teams.
Yeah, I think Juric, if one top team struggles this year, I reckon he'll be there. He's a really good coach. I think that they're playing for the coach. They're playing a style and this is the complete opposite to Inter. They know their role. Every player on that team knows their role, and they help each other out on the field, and they get the job done. And they don't die. They won't die wondering. They'll defend it like the whole game. The counter-attacking football that they play is very entertaining when they play a super strong team as well. You know, like They know how to break down teams, which is very impressive. So they don't seem to miss their chance when it's their turn to score goals. And I'm very impressed with them. They started off well last year as well, and then they dropped off, but it come. But yeah, I'm very.
They just missed out of a Europa position last year as well. But in ninth spot with 3 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses, and the first team in the table to have a negative goal difference with 11 scored and 13 conceded is your beloved Lazio. So I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, they're I'm actually really happy where they are in the table. I don't think you can be super excited where they are, and I don't think you can be really disappointed where they are. They started the year off with virtually no defenders at all. You know, like they haven't played with the same starting 11 for 6 months. It is so. It's been it's been a long time since they've got their full strength team, and they're actually getting players back now. They've had COVID issues, and obviously in Champions League they can't get full strength because of the COVID issues. Even though finally they're getting players back for injury, credible points against Inter, against Juventus. They've played Atalanta. They're in a decent position in the table. I think their new signings are about 50-50. Some of them have been really good, some of them haven't. But I think the big difference here is Chiro gets hurt, and we've got Casado on the bench who can come off the bench and score goals. And I think that...
I feel like they've done extremely well in the conditions when it came to Champions League. And you might have seen me grinning, guys, before, and I was thinking to myself, you talked about not having a full-strength team, and when you played us, by half time, he's already made 3 subs, or to injury, or for the same position, and it just doesn't get better. But moving on, we've got on 10 points in 10th spot. They've had 3 wins, 1 against Lazio, 1 against Atalanta, and a loss and 3 wins, a draw and 3 losses, and that's Sampdoria. Personally, I think they're doing well, but they're one of these teams like Atalanta you can't gauge. You can't gauge because one week they're destroying teams like Lazio, they're destroying teams like Atalanta, and then you see them struggling, and it's just like, what's happening there? Like, is there a communication breakdown? You don't really know. Like, they lost 2-0 to Cagliari, you know, and drew 1-1 with Genoa. So the question's got to be asked, but at the same time, I feel like they're about on par where they should be, especially after last season. After last season, their dreadful season.
Well, they actually had a good return. They were one of the teams that, when they come back from COVID, they racked up a lot of points. Like Milan, they racked up a lot of points after COVID. They did have Ranieri sort of there who took over. I think it was from Di Francesco at the start of the year last season. And I think that Sampdoria, they got deadline day signings virtually. They got Candreva, they got Kiefer Bale, they got Quagliarella up front. So in attack, they don't seem to have too many problems. And I guess using their strengths against Lazio, they scored 3. I think they scored 3 against Atalanta. They went on a bit of a run there. And if Ranieri can get the balance right, this could be a team right on the edge of Europa. You know, I think they can be
definitely
there.
And we saw what Ranieri did with Leicester, so anything's possible. But moving on, in 11th spot, we've got on 3 wins, 1 draw, and also 3 losses, equal points with Sampdoria, Cagliari. I feel they're on par with where they should be. I don't think they're overachieving. I don't think they're underachieving. They did sign Godin from Inter Milan over the break, which has probably been a great signing on their end. But since they lost Barella, they replaced him with Nainggolan. They didn't do too bad with Nainggolan there, but now they haven't really got that midfield solidified, and I think their results are reflective of that. What do you think?
Yeah, they I don't think their stars have been shining for them like consistently. I really think that from last year they went on a really good run, and they're capable of more. Serie A is quite tight, as we all know, and I'd say you're right. They're probably in the position where they should be. I think performance-wise, they're very hot and cold though.
Yeah.
That's what the biggest problem is. When they're off, they're off. When they're on, they're entertaining as well. Nice goals, like quality strikers. They're up there. But yeah, just a little inconsistent. That's all.
Yeah, and then that leads us on to the next point. With 2 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses, -2 goal difference, is in 12th spot, Fiorentina. I think they're a basket case. I just feel
Prindelli.
They can't get it right. And I just feel that's what's happening with Fiorentina. And it's been like that for a couple of years. What do you think?
Yeah, look, Prindelli's there now. They started off he's just the wrong fit for that club. Where Prindelli's he is Fiorentina. He was there for a while, and he only left to go to the national team. So he was there for a while. He's very, very balanced coach, and that is exactly what Fiorentina needed because they weren't balanced. They really weren't balanced. You could see from the start of the season that they score 3 against Inter and concede 4, and they show signs that they are capable of scoring goals. And they just need the balance right, the cover in the midfield, I think, and the consistency with the build-up. I think Prindelli will get it all right. I think he'll fix that team. And unfortunately, Lazio haven't played them yet, so we're probably going to cop it against them now.
Oh well, look, I think with them you just got to leave it to the manager and see what happens. But moving on, I think this is one of the teams which I can officially say have been overachieving. Maybe not in the Serie A, but by my standards and my predictions, I predicted them to get relegated this season. And it's Spezia, Sydney in 13th spot with 2 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses. They've got a -4 goal difference, and 3 of those came from AC Milan. But or 4 of them, one of the other. But at the same time, I just think they're doing well for the team they are. Fresh into the Serie A, they haven't been there for a while. I can't really say much on them. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought they were going down. I thought at the start of the year, you didn't see much movement, like notable movement, particularly with Benevento really getting a lot of signings in. You didn't really see much movement there, but they're 13th on the table, and their injury toll is huge.
Yeah,
like it's huge. So they're actually probably if they can get these players back soon, even 5 of them, because they've got a massive injury toll. So if they can get even about 5 players back going into this hard run in 3 weeks' time, they're going to be so much better off for it. And they've in 13th.
Yeah,
it's very
look, between 12th and 20th. There's only 6 points difference, but at the same time, consistency-wise, they just seem the team that are getting the draws where they should be, getting the wins. But moving on, this team here is Bologna in 14th. 2 wins, 0 draws, 5 losses, -2 goal difference. And one notable stat, I think they've just hit 40 games in a row that they have conceded consecutively. And surely that means a summer defensive signing. But overall, I think they're 14th spot. I think at the end of the season, they'll sort of be content with 14th spot. I think, last year they did extremely well with the conditions of their manager. Mihalovic the cancer. Then he got COVID. So it was one thing after another. But I just feel they're not overperforming. They're not underperforming. Let's talk again in 31 games' time when we finish the season. And I think they'll still be 15th, 12th, 15th to 12th, roughly somewhere in that spectrum.
I think they've been a little bit unlucky too. I think that they play a nice style, and you need luck on your side. And I think they really haven't had the luck because they're a hard team to play. They're not an easy team to play. They're actually quite a hard team to play, and they play for the coach. But unfortunately, they do have this stat, and like you said, they had all the problems with Mihalovic being sick, and it's world known, and very courageous for him to do it too, and the team followed him. But I think that they've just been very unlucky. I really think that they've been unlucky, and I think that we're going to see better things from it.
Yeah, definitely. And moving on is Parma. 1 win, 3 draws, 3 losses, -5 goal difference. Their most notable result would have been the draw against Inter, where Gervinho just scored 2. But I feel that was a lucky result. Even the referee boss came out and said there was a clear penalty that should have been awarded. But at the end of the day, it is football. Results happen the way they do. I thought they would have been a bit better. We're only 7 games in, but I just thought they would have done something. They would have done a little bit better than 1 win out of 7. What do you think?
I was really impressed with Liberani, coach last year. I thought he'd done a really good job with Lecce, and they got relegated. I thought his style of play for particularly a team coming up for relegation was really good, and I expected Parma to be a lot more better, but they're almost mirroring what Lecce did, almost except Lecce went on a really good run. Yeah. So I think Parma's in all sorts. They do another team that does have quite a few out injured, but I really don't see how they're expecting to win games when they play the way that they play.
Yeah,
I think it's just
I think probably leave that on that note. But moving into the 16th spot, 2 wins, 0 draws, 5 losses, -10 goal difference. Is Benevento. Out of the 3 relegated teams, I did think that they were going to be the ones to stay in the Serie A. They've had a couple of good games, but I just think, I don't know, they did a fair bit of action in the transfer window. I just thought it was phenomenal how many signings they were getting. But yeah, I just think that most recently they've sort of slowed down a bit. They lost 3-0 to Spezia most recently in match day 7. And that is a big result for both teams. Spezia getting that 3 points and taking those 3 points off Benevento, and Benevento losing those 3 points. But my eyes, 16th spot, if they'll finish 16th at the end of the season, I'd say they probably did well. But in the larger scheme of things, I just think they're not playing the best football.
Yeah, I think they're playing very, very attacking, obviously scoring a lot of goals, but conceding a lot of goals. And that's the whole balance issue, because that game against Spezia is the game that they really needed to win. You need to get 6 points. They need to get off them if they want to stay up. But that was a disaster for them. It really was. The only hope, I guess, for them is that all these players that did come in and they did do very well is that they start gelling a little bit better.
But yeah, so 17th spot with 1 win, 2 draws, 4 losses, -4 goal difference is probably the disappointment of the season so far for me, and that's Torino. They've only had the 1 win, and I just think their striker is one of, I'd say, 3 possible strikers for the Italian national team leading into Euros. But they've only scored 12 goals this season across 7 games, less than 2 goals a game, where the league is seeing roughly 40-odd goals a week. And a lot of the goals are being scored against them. So, I don't know. I think they're the trouble team in the Serie A this season. Take into account the teams that have been relegated, recently promoted. I think other than them, Torino have just been terrible. What do you think?
Yeah. How many coaches can you go through? They really need another coach, because look, they're proven that when you can score the way they do score against quality teams, then obviously the balance of the rest of the team is wrong. And Belotti's been scoring goals, scored a lot of goals this year so far. And you need to make hay while the sun shines. If you're scoring goals, you need to win games. He can't score 10 goals a game, for you to concede 11. And
look, I think the true testament is if they can get a result this week against Inter, maybe something's clicking, but I just can't see it happening. I can't. There's big troubles there. In 18th spot with 1 win, 2 draws, 4 losses is Genoa, and I just want to put out there they should not be in 18th. They have been the epicenter of Serie A COVID cases. I think they've had the most. You were telling me just the other day, and I'm sure you're going to drop that number, but once they get their players back, I can't see them sitting in the relegation position. What do you think, Vince?
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it was something like 16 or something, 16 players. It's just ridiculous. But isn't that where Pandev lives and plays? He just keeps on going. And, Genoa's had a lot of problems. Obviously, a lot of people died with the bridge collapsing, at the start of last season. But the draw against Sampdoria shows a lot of hope for them. In a derby game, if you can fight and get points at least, and probably unlucky in that game as well. I think they actually played quite well, Genoa.
Yeah.
So they're showing glimpses of it, and if they can get that passion that they showed in that derby on the field for at least 70 minutes around, then I think Genoa can climb the table, and they're Genoa.
Yeah, like I said, I think we come back to this conversation in 7 games' time. They're not going to be in the relegation position. In 19th position with 1 win, 1 draw, and 5 losses, with a -5 goal difference is Udinese. I think they were lucky last season not to get relegated. If my mind serves me correctly, it was between them and Lecce come the last match day. But yeah, I think they're in the right position. Did they lose Rodrigo de Paul to Juventus this season?
No. Well, maybe mentally.
Yeah,
but he's still there, and their striker is in the national team, and I think he belongs there as well. I'm not gonna.
Look, I think they've got pedigree players, and by that I say 2 players, but I just think the rest of the team, they're just not competitive enough in the Serie A.
Well, they were my pick to get relegated at the start of the season, and I'm not changing. I'm not changing. I think they're going down. I actually do think they're going down, and for a team that's got a new stadium as well, it's a bit sad.
Yeah. Oh, look, I think come January in the transfer window, a lot of teams will be looking to, by the time the transfer window comes, we won't even be halfway through the season, and a lot of teams are having that opportunity to change their squad and fix those holes to stop that ship from sinking. And Udinese need to buy at least 9 players.
I was going to say I was going to say 23 players, but
I'm talking
okay, we'll
about their
stick with
starting 11. I'm talking about their starting 11, but there
Yeah.
are rumors that Rodrigo de Paul is on his way out to Juventus or Inter. Not sure why Inter want another midfielder, but he did play today for the Argentinian national team. They did come out 2-0 victors. Martinez scored. But look, I think that, yeah, you picked them for relegation. I picked them for relegation. I think they're going back to Serie B. They're going back.
Yeah.
But in last position, yet to register a win, two draws, 5 losses, minus 11 goal difference. They've scored only 6 goals in such a goal-scoring season. They've conceded 17, with Benevento only conceding more goals in 20. But they've conceded 17 is Crotone. And look, from the start of the season, I said Crotone, Udinese, Spezia, whatever order you want to put them in. I can't see when they were last in Serie A, when they first got promoted, last match day, got the points, and they saved them by the smallest of margins. I can't see that happening in such a competitive league this year. And I don't know when they're going to register their first win.
Hopefully not.
Pardon?
Hopefully not this week because they play Lazio.
Oh, look, I think Lazio will have a field day with them, only because, they're not at top pace. But overall, they're right where I predicted them to be, and I never expected anything. I can see them pulling a couple of surprise draws against a couple of teams, but there's nothing really I can turn around and say, look, they're gonna win, even when they play Udinese or Spezia or Benevento. I can't have any confidence they're going to take any points.
Yeah, unfortunately, this was one of the teams that I picked to actually stay up. And I don't want to back just yet. I want to give them a little bit more time. I'm hoping that the travels, the home games, they make a little bit more out of their home games. Being a little bit further south, I guess, So I got a slim hope, but I mean, when you concede that many goals, I mean, it's a revamp.
Look, I think that they're just not accustomed to the current Serie A environment. When they last came to Serie A, their stadiums were packed to the rafters. Their fans in the south of Italy would fill up that stadium, and they don't have that luxury this season. There's only so much fans can do, but they play a big part in the game. And I don't know, like you said, I'm not holding my breath in saying yet they're definitely going down. Between 12th and 20th, between 12th spot and 20th spot, there is 6 points difference. 6 points. That's 2 games that you can just turn around your season. And you know what? Anything's a go. It might be crazy calling it, but yeah. Look, I think this is where we wrap it up.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for watching, and make sure you like and subscribe, please, so we can put out some more content. Leave a comment if you like, and we'll answer questions. And
that's it.
That's it. Yeah. All right. Ciao, guys.
Forza Serie A. Ciao.
Ciao.